Hey everyone, Chad Hasty here, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on NewsTalk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Hope you had a great New Year's Eve and also Christmas season, and we continue back on the show. The first show of 2017 today. In fact, this is the first morning brief of 2017. I want to thank Carl Tepper, Steve Evans, the chairman of the Lubbock County Republican Party, and also Matt Crow for filling in for me while I was out. Heard they did a great job. A lot to get into in 2017 on the show. This is kind of a little bit of a preview morning brief here of what we're going to be doing over the next month or so. That includes talk about the Texas legislative session. That's coming up. January 10th is when all that begins. Looking forward to that. A lot of different bills that have been filed. Now, remember, the first, little bit of the Texas legislative session, not a lot really happens. A lot of hearings, testimony, a lot of back and forth, a lot of debate, but nothing really happens as far as vote goes. But we will have a lot to talk about, because there are a lot of interesting, good and bad, on the interesting levels, but good and bad bills that have been filed. So we'll take a look at those, and we'll talk a little bit about medical marijuana and all that kind of fun stuff that people like to talk about, that probably won't pass here in Texas. But hey, it's still a point of debate as we move forward. Also, Donald Trump gets inaugurated on January 20th. That's something, of course, we'll be following continuously on the Chad Hasty Show. We'll talk about his transition team. Russia continues to be a big story. How much influence Russia will have on the Trump administration. Did you see the story, by the way, over the break while we were out, that the story, I think it originated with the Washington Post, that Russia hacked into the grid, into the electrical grid, into the United States. Well, then it came out, no, they actually didn't. They hacked in, or somebody in Russia maybe, was able to hack into a laptop that wasn't connected to the grid. But yeah, that was a big story for a little bit over the break. We'll talk about that. The continued fake news that is out there, the wrong news, that continues to be, thrown out, by some in the mainstream media and by, even those in the administration. So we'll talk about all of that. This time of year, a lot of people like to make resolutions, talk about what they want to see in 2017. And I guarantee you will have some, radio hosts, probably Glenn Beck, who say that they will, we're going to make a resolution to not be divisive anymore and to bring people together. Okay, that's fine. Glenn Beck and others like Glenn Beck, some national talk show hosts, think that they're to blame for the rise of Donald Trump. They're not. We've talked about many times on the show, why Donald Trump, rose to power, why Donald Trump was the candidate of choice. And I'm not going to rehash all of that here on today's morning brief, but we've talked about that before. It's not because of Glenn Beck. It's not because of me. It's not because of Sean Hannity. It's not because of Rush. It's because of the Democrats, and it's because of the Obama administration, and really some of the feelings that have been out there for a while. So again, we've talked about it before. There's no reason to go through and rehash. But I guess if I were to do a resolution or say, here's what you can count on in 2017, it's going to be this. I think that something that our audience, my audience, really enjoys about the show is I'm going to call it like I see it. Whether you are the most conservative, someone like a Mike Lee or Ted Cruz, and you do something wrong, I'm going to call you on your BS. Same thing for Donald Trump. This is not going to be, my show is not going to be a place where Donald Trump is always going to be right. In fact, I have a feeling that there's going to be many times where Donald Trump should be criticized. Now, if you're a Trumper, get used to it. You're going to be disappointed at some point by Donald Trump. He's not always going to be right. No president is always right. No politician is always right. And every politician deserves to have their feet held to the fire. And that's something we'll continue to do on the show. Also, in 2017, we're going to be taking the show on the road, going to a few different places, including, the plan is to head back down to the state capitol, down in Austin, do the show once again from the state capitol, have on some of our statewide elected officials, our locally elected officials, as well. So, we're looking forward to that trip down to Austin, Texas, taking the show on the road. Encourage you to follow me on Periscope, Instagram, Snapchat, all the other social, Twitter, of course, social media outlets, Chad Hasty Radio. We're going to be doing a lot more with social media through the show in 2017. That includes more Facebook Live, or actually, I don't know if we've actually done Facebook Live during the show. We're going to do that during the show from time to time. So go ahead and like KFYO on Facebook, like the Chad Hasty Show on Facebook as well. We'll be doing some Facebook Live videos, also on Periscope and Twitter and Instagram and just about everywhere else. More video, more fun, peeks behind the scenes. It's not as interesting as some may think, but it's kind of cool to kind of peek in on the show while it's going on. So follow me on social media, Chad Hasty Radio, and also go ahead and like the pages of the Chad Hasty Show and KFYO as well. So that way you'll see Facebook Live whenever we pop on. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in to the Morning Brief. Let's make 2017 a great year. Don't let it be defined by the politics of the day. Don't let it be defined by celebrity deaths. You know, you saw a lot of the tweets and social media posts at the end of 2016 that it was an awful, awful year. It really wasn't. 2016 was a surprising year in many cases, but was it an awful year? No, absolutely not. Not unless you were related to every single celebrity that died. Well, then it was probably an awful year for you. But if you weren't related to them, if you didn't really know the person, you know, yeah, it's sad when a celebrity dies, but don't let it rock your world, okay, folks? Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time, News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO.